$18,267.98. I would like to ask that we vote separately on check number, I'm sorry, I got it out of order. 331066, Admiral for $3,751.30.
$3,751.
$1.30.
And the other one was 18,000?
$18,267.98.
Okay.
And the last one? did-
Well,
get the-
I decided not to ask for that to be voted on separately.
Okay.
Sorry, Carol.
That's okay. Mr. Anderson, I would like to ask to add a check to the list of bills.
Okay.
I'm going to hand out that check,
Oh,
so each board member has a copy. It would be check number 331193 in the amount of $46,000.
Okay.
Who is it to, Carol?
It would be to High School District 214, and I will explain what that is.
And it was for $46,000.
Correct, and that would be an add.
Got it? Got it around. Looks like a truck.
It's a truck that was sold as is, or the spreader is as is?
The truck is sold as is. And I can, when you're ready, I'll explain.
You want to wait till we get to the bills to do that?
Sure.
That's up to, that'd be better probably. Do it all in order, I
Sure.
think. So are there any other changes? We're voting on the coaches and activity people and the personnel issues. So. Good. Okay, then I move we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Anderson, second by Munda. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes,
I have 7 yes, motion carries.
thank you. The next item is recognitions. We have no recognitions this evening. We'll move on to the reception of visitors. This is the part of the meeting where anybody can address the board if they would so desire. Because we don't have any visitors, just administrators, and I guess we don't have any visitors to speak, so we'll move on. The next item is the president's report. We have the new board schedule for 16-17. And this is it, what we're getting in our hands right now. Let's see. I'd like to move the February 14th meeting to February 7th. What do you think?
You want to be on Valentine's Day so you can go out to dinner with your sweetheart?
I'm looking to save some money, really, to be honest with you. No. I'm going to be out of town on the 14th, so I can't,
okay.
I'm not going to be here. So. Does the 7th matter to anyone at this point? It's a Tuesday before,
In February?
in February.
That's great.
Yes.
Then we can spend the evening with our
We
sweetheart.
have February 7th, and also discipline student English.
You could have that.
Yep. Time?
Yeah.
Works for me.
If that's okay with everybody, I'd like to move that one. 'Cause I just got told this week I got a meeting that I can't change, it's in that week, so. February 7th, okay. Anybody else have any thoughts?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Do we have to vote on it again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Spring break week is the last week of March.
It's not in there.
Yes. It was a vote on in January. Pardon?
Do we vote on the,
It
we
was
did vote on
voted
the
on in
calendar?
January, so we have
We'll
to,
have to re-vote on it
Re-vote.
next time, at the next meeting, let's just say.
Okay, or you could just change that on the schedule when it comes up with posting.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get it done, we'll get a vote on it at some point, so. Yeah, it's the last, is it the last week of March this year, spring break?
Yeah.
I believe so.
27th.
Is it
27th to 30.
coincides with the opening for testing on this? You come back in April.
And the opening of baseball season. That's important.
Very.
More than me, but not everybody. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, moving right along then. We have no committee reports. So we'll move to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. We did have one for you from Jay Griffin at the Daily Herald, who was interested in names and amounts on our tuition reimbursements to members of our collective bargaining agreements, the union members, so we did give him that. We also have been, you might have seen where our registration process is open, all of our pre-registration information that we're collecting from families are underway. We've been also, over the course of the summer, working with the Gurnee Police Department and trying to be proactive with any families that have come in and we've questioned residency because they've either bounced back with mail or thinking that the addresses may not be right, so we've been trying to do some early legwork. Jim and Tammy have been getting out there when they can to check those, so we're not doing it at the last minute right before school begins. So our building staffs have done a great job trying to get those ready. And there's a couple other things, but I'll do the treasurer's report, sir.
Sure. What we've included for your preliminary information is the June treasurer's report, which is basically on a cash basis at this point. So we will be making adjustments and reporting to you on an audited method, which will be an accrual method. You'll notice that our surplus is very close to where it was last June on a cash basis for this year, but we did do some spending to come close to a break-even situation for the fiscal year. We had some opportunities to get some equipment and some other things and get some projects going that we wanted to get done. So our hope is to come close to break even. We may be over budget, but what that is meaning is that we've bought some things ahead of time. So the auditors will be in mid-August, first institute date, and we're preparing now for that. So I'm going to give you an update.
I'm sorry, Carol, how many days is the audit take?
They schedule 2 weeks, but they're typically there about 6 days. So they've done their preliminary work, they were in for a few days, doing all their internal control testing. We do have a new format that I think is going to meet Mr. Drake's wishes, so we're going to try and get that implemented as soon in the new fiscal year as we can. So I think it's what you're looking for, so we did get a sample for that. Any questions that I can answer for the board?
Thanks, Carol.
Sure.
Yeah, we have department report. I think Louis is, Mr. Rob's going to help out a little bit. Oh, here you are.
Need to help Lily tonight.
Yes, you do. When it gets to your section. If you all remember, the ALOP is the Alternative Learning Opportunity Program, and we have to apply yearly for this application. So every year about June is through the end of June. It's probably a 20 to 25 page document that we fill out and we get information from last year's program. Basically, it enables us to implement a program that offers a broader range of support services and also educational support. So like we can do family counseling through there, post-secondary counseling. There's the social worker, special education, employment opportunities, and just community resources for those special ed students. Every student has to have a student success plan in order to be in this program. A student success plan, think of it as an IEP for the students. They check off the services that they need, and in order for us to get reimbursement, they have to have that student success plan. It's a lot of paperwork, but the reward for this is the funding we get is at the foundation level for each one of those students. So that's the positive. If you remember, there's 3 program areas for our ALOP. We have one is the Bridges Day School program, which Greg actually started last year, second semester. We started that at Eau Plaine because there just seemed to be a need for that type of student, and we didn't want to send freshmen and sophomores to our evening program. Then there was the Bridges Transition Program, which is located out at Gurney Mills. That started in 2014-15 as part of our ALOP application. And then we had the Bridges Evening Program, which has been around for many, many, many years, even before I got here. And they added actually a summer school portion, and Rob will explain a little bit about that in 12-13 to help our graduates so they didn't have to come back the following year for 1 or 2 classes, so we try to get them to graduate with their peers. So let's just talk about the Bridges Day School program. It's designed for freshmen and sophomores. These kids are in jeopardy of moving to a junior classification by the end of their 4th semester. Many times these students haven't earned 1 credit whatsoever. They struggle with academics, and it's due to gaps in their knowledge, because, you know, especially like from the middle schools, they're kind of like they were here, they were not here, they might have passed a course, they didn't pass a course, they were still allowed to move on. So there's just gaps in their knowledge. So what we try to do is implement a program that's going to help them with their skill level so that they can be successful in a day school program. We offer more intense remediation program, and it's the same structure as our current day school. So it's not a special time or anything. They go to school with their peers, they're just in a classroom. That's different. The anticipated numbers is usually 15 to 20 students. That's about what we can handle throughout the day. They're very small class sizes, which is very important for them. The goal for those students is going to be the same goal as our evening program. Basically, we're just assisting students to complete graduation requirements needed to earn a Warren diploma. Many times, we have to develop their academic skills so that they're going to do well, not only that school year, but in the years beyond. We want them to enroll in a post-secondary program following completion of the Bridges. That post-secondary, we want them to go to Almond campus. We don't want them to go to the Bridges evening program. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. But sometimes it just happens like, okay, this evening program might work best for them. We want them to enroll in an adult education program, or we want them to obtain competitive employment. So those are the goals for that day school program. And just the Bridges Day School by the numbers, because we have to report these through the ALOP application, 17 students, so all of them, increased their GPA while attending the day school program. So some of them had a GPA of 0. So if you can imagine, you know, here's a sophomore, supposedly a sophomore, a student their second year at Eau Plaine, and they haven't earned credit. 3 students marked the first time they passed a class that morning. So that was pretty successful in that part. 8 students moved to the next grade classification, and that's kind of what we want them to do so that we can get them back on track. So I think we're pretty proud of those numbers, even though you think, whoa, no one's earned their credit yet, but I think it's just that situation, and this is a program that helps those students. So if we can get one kid be helped, we're doing well. The transition program, the one at Gurney Mills, this is designed for special needs students through age 21. I think many of you have been out to Gurney Mills, you've seen the area there. Basically, it addresses employability and or daily living skills, deficit areas that they need to increase for independence. We provide connections to post-secondary education, vocational education, integrated employment, continuing in adult ed. Again, same structure as the Almond campus schedule. The kids are there the whole time, just as an Almond student. Anticipated numbers are anywhere from 20 to 35. I think this last year we had 22 students on average, so that was about right. I don't think we can get very many more out there because it's pretty crowded. When you have all your aides, and then the teachers, and the social worker, and the nurse, and it gets a little crowded. The program goal for them is basically for students to learn, develop, and apply academic and functional skills in a variety of environments, which builds necessary skills to increase their level of independence and productivity. This is their work program. This is what we want them to do. So that's their main goal. And just bridges transition by the numbers, 19 of the 25 students made progress on their IEP goals. That's how we mark success there. It's all through their IEP. 25 out of 25 students worked with an outside agency for support, and our social workers do a very nice job of having outside agencies and working with those parents to make sure they have a plan after they're 21, or when they're 22. And this is the coolest one. 4 students actually were able to navigate the public transportation system to take adult education classes at CLC, and they passed them. So they did it all by themselves, they rode the bus by themselves, they got dropped off at CLC, they went to their class, they picked up the bus back, so that was a pretty proud moment, I think, in that transition center.
Is that the first time?
That is the first time that we had those 4 students. It's actually, they're working more with, and Kara might know more about this, but CLC is opening up more programs for those types of kids. So I think we'll get more and more kids to do that, but I think, we did it, and I think the first couple of times the paras rode with them, or a job coach, or the transition specialist, and then they were able to do it on their own. So
Do you know if they were together at the same time when they did it, or?
I
I'm just thinking, if
believe
you
so.
build that number, they could start helping each other. Hey, I've done it before.
Right, I believe they all took the same classes, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
I'm like looking at you like if you know.
I believe they took them all at the same time frame. I do believe they were a couple of different courses though. But
Power
there's,
numbers kind of
yeah.
thing.
There's
Yeah.
different courses, and depending on the courses, depends on what time they're offered. So we do have a couple students who are looking into it again for next year. We just got the schedule.
So, yeah.
So what you're saying, Kara, is that some of the students next year were 4 of the students that navigated the course this time?
No, we have some new students who are.
New students, so are any of the 4 returning?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay, that's what I'd like to know.
either. I don't
Okay.
know that, but I can find out.
Yeah, that would be great, because if they
Okay.
are, then they can help the others.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So, all right. And then I'm gonna turn it over to Ralph.
Thanks, Lord.
Oh, you're welcome.
The Bridges Evening Program, or night school program, Lily said earlier, has been around for a long time, predates my time here. Probably close to 30 plus years that we've had some type of evening program for our at-risk students. This group of students is probably our most at-risk for not obtaining a diploma. It's an alternative program for students to earn a diploma, and that is the major focus for the students when they get to be 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. We are doing everything we can to make sure that they walk out of here with a high school diploma. Doesn't always work, but that's what we're doing. Just kind of a program overview or design. There's an administrator that oversees the program. That's me. We have 2 counselors. We just break it down by alphabet. We have a counselor that works with last names A through L and M through Z. So any referral that comes in, you kind of get shown to that counselor to do the intake meeting, do the success plan that Lily was talking about. There's an evening supervisor that works on checking students in and making sure that each evening the program runs efficiently. We have 4 teachers that are assigned each night. I'll get to kind of the classes in a second. That's Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday evenings, we just have 2 teachers. We just open up the 8+ lab. Our classes run Monday through Thursday from 5 to 9, and on Fridays from 4 to 7. Most students do a Monday through Friday schedule, but some can fluctuate in there just depending on what their credit needs are. Some students may only need another half credit or a credit, so they might only attend a night or 2. So there is some students that do different things depending on what their needs are. We started a summer program in 2012-13. One of the things I identified when I got to take on this program was that we were missing an opportunity for students to continue to progress throughout the summer. And the difference between earning that credit or 2 over the summer it had a major impact on whether they graduated or not and continued to progress. So We do have a summer program, it's a A+ lab that we open up, and we have students that come into that lab and work throughout the summer. We do have a social worker that is there twice a week, just to try and meet the social emotional needs of the students. Variety of unique backgrounds with these students and family situations, so we do offer social work services for them. And then we do offer transportation. We are busing students Monday through Friday for students that need to get there. It's not something that was offered a few years ago, but it was something that we've identified that students were having trouble just getting there in the evenings. And if we were going to continue to have these students progress, we needed to offer transportation services. So we work with Tina, and we have buses that go out and run a route and pick up students. We have other students that just drive and get dropped off and stuff too. We do that. Just an example of courses that are offered in our program. It very much mirrors the day school: English 3, physics, economics, government, intro to engineering and architecture, elective, business internship, concepts of math, psychology. I mean, it's a kind of a regular course load that these students are taking, and then they're utilizing the A+ online program to supplement their courses. And it's designed to kind of max out at about 80 students. So we kind of look at it as 20 students in a class per night would kind of be the max for each one of these classes with the 4 teachers that are going. Program goals, it's kind of a repeat of an earlier slide, but just focus on the first one: to assist students to complete graduation requirements needed to earn a warrant diploma. That is the major focus, but we do look at trying to provide opportunities for students to take post-secondary options into account if that's where they're at, gain competitive employment, all those kinds of things. A couple things with our evening program: you must be 16 years or older, and you must be entering your 5th semester of high school. Those are some critical things that we've identified early on that we do not want to give up on a student. And second semester, freshman year, say, nope, you're up to the adult program. We don't want to give up on them at that point. We want to try with the Bridges Day School program to keep them engaged in day school, because we still think that traditional setting is best for students. But at some point, we may need to identify that this alternative setting is better. So we try not to, at age 14, say, you're going to hang out with some 20-year-olds, So we try and keep them in day school as long as we can.
Rob,
Yes.
the 5th semester, so that's 5 consecutive semesters, or is it like they do 2 semesters and let's say they skipped a semester and came back and did 2 more? Is it 5? I guess
It
what
does
I,
not have to be 5 consecutive. Yeah, I mean, there's not many students.
I
take
know, I
time off,
take that,
but if they were age-wise going into their 5th semester, it demonstrated that they had completed enough time in the day school program, we would consider it.
Okay. Then I had a couple of other questions. Should I wait until you get them?
Sure, why don't you wait?
Okay.
We'll have time for questions at the end. It's
Thank
built
you.
into the program. And then the last thing is just that you should complete your diploma requirements by the time you're 21. It's just something that we try and put in place so that we don't carry this thing out with a 28-year-old sitting in the program kind of thing. So believe it or not, there was a girl that walked across the stage this year that turned 21 on May 22nd. So
Oh
we
my
do have
God.
students that take it right up to the end, but we did get our high school diploma. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep.
By the numbers, just an example, I just took this year for example. So any student that's in their 4th year of high school or beyond, so 4th, 5th, 6th, and I don't think we get many 7th year kids in the age of 21, but this year we had 50 students that were in their 4th year or more that could earn, that would be a candidate for graduation. 28 of those 50 finished on time this year and were eligible to participate in the ceremony. The other 22 we set up for the summer program. 2 of them did complete the requirements this summer. Of the 22, there's a typo there, but it's 2 of the 22 to do the math on that. So that means overall we had 30 of the 50 finish and complete their diploma requirements. Over the last 4 years, just tracking back, that's 136 diplomas that have come out of the Bridges program. on 234 students that have been enrolled during that time. And I'll get to kind of the percents on that in a second. The other thing that happens is sometimes students at Almond don't graduate on time. And so if they're not going to finish, one of the things that we've kind of implemented is you don't necessarily just automatically get to come back to day school for a fifth year. It's time to kind of move on and go to a completion program. So we set those students up automatically to kind of jump into our Bridges program because they didn't finish. They can jump into our summer program, and 4 of them, although they didn't finish on time, finished this past summer. So they were actually 2016 graduates that didn't have to return. In the past, that may not have happened because they wouldn't. The A+ program allows them to work at a different pace and earn more credits than you can in like a traditional summer program. So we had 4 Almond students that took advantage of our Bridges summer program. So we had 6 students because of our summer program. They got a diploma, didn't have to come back for 16-17, wait until May of 2017 when they needed a credit and a half or whatever. So we got them a diploma this summer. Big picture, from 2012 to 2016, we had 263 students involved in the program. Starting kind of clockwise here, 9% are still in the class of 2017, so we still got kids that are active in it. 16% of our students finished the year and either transferred away from us or did not register. They didn't return. We've had 16% of our 263 that have done that. Another 13% have dropped out, non-attendance. Those students that do exit like that, we recommend that they get their GED. I don't have a lot of stats on whether they do or not, but you can kind of look at the high at risk that these students are for even get the diploma. 55% of them we got the diploma, and then 7% of them are still in progress that are not part of the class of 2017. So those are our 5th year or 6th year students that we still have our hooks in them and trying to keep them going so that they can earn a diploma. And then one new thing that we added this year, we're always looking for opportunities for our students. Lake County Workforce Development presentation. We had DeMar Harris from that program come out. He's actually a Warren Township High School alum. He presented job training and educational resources that are available through the Lake County Workforce Development program. So he did a complete presentation to all of our students about resources, money, funding, education, all those kinds of things that are available to our students, actually to all of us. He was even trying to say if you've got parents that need support with finding a job, you can utilize their services. But we got that in front of our students too to talk about what kind of opportunities or resources are out there if they're having trouble finding a job in competitive employment. Questions?
Questions? Okay, Liz, you have your hand up.
Can you go back a few, not further, further? Doesn't go any further?
There we go.
Oh, good.
Here?
No,
More?
next one, I think. No, next one. Okay, the 4 teachers are the same teachers Monday through Friday?
No, they're not.
That's what I.
They're not.
Okay.
We have a couple teachers that are, that will do a couple nights a week. Just their family, their family that can do it. But no, the vast majority are a different teacher each night.
But is it the same class or no? That's
No.
what.
It's different, there's
Different.
one class per, it's one
Right.
course in a day. So like Monday, you have like maybe physics and econ and government running. And then Tuesday might be US history, go ahead, intro to architecture,
Okay.
algebra 2.
So let's say on Monday you'd be taking English 3 for
That's it.
4 hours.
Correct.
And then the next night you could take US history.
Correct.
Okay,
And then
okay,
you do A+
okay.
on Wednesday, do physics on Thursday, and A+ again on
Friday.
Friday. So whatever that combination is, we kind of set a schedule and build course.
We kind of know like what the
Yeah.
kids need, like they can look at, okay, oh, now we need a US history, now we need a government, now we need, those graduation requirements. And the curriculum is actually the same curriculum we use in our day school, it's just treated differently. They try to reach those kids in different ways, so it's all about the instruction.
Okay, thank you. Those were my questions.
I think the,
Oh, no, I had one more, I'm sorry. Go back to that same thing, please. I'm so sorry. The business internship, I think it was.
Yep,
They don't get to count what they're doing as work. This is a separate thing, or does, like, if they work,
yep.
can they count that work as business internships? So that gives them an extra class
Yes.
because they don't, that's filled.
Yes, there's an actual class, it's kind of the classroom part of that they take.
Oh, okay.
Parallel to that, they can also have a job, have a covenant of employment, and then that, our teacher monitors that job, and they are allowed to give work credit for that employment.
and there's requirements, like I think they have to turn in paychecks and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
so not to turn in a paycheck, but the
No,
pay stuff.
I know what you meant.
They still get
I knew what you meant.
Okay, there you go, that's very good. And I think that's.
It's a real moneymaker.
Yeah.
Positive cash flow.
I think this is a great program, and I'm very happy to hear that that's the way it's run. One suggestion I would like to make is that students possibly in this program, I'm not sure where, would be allowed to shadow. And I'm big on this because as I tell people, my daughter thought she was going to be a vet, and she went and shadowed the vet, and she came home and she goes, Mom, I can never hurt an animal to make it better, because she was there for the surgery. So she changed her whole idea, and this was at 15. So I think shadowing really, it can give a kid an opportunity to see what they want to do and whether it really is what they want to do. So I'm trying to push that, Dr. Ogrum, anywhere we can do it.
And I think that's one of our goals, is to increase that work-based component of it, whether it is we're going to shadow, and line up field trips for the kids or whatever. Like, that's something that we want to increase.
I'd like to see us work, in the school, work with businesses, but on an individual basis, like the kids can go on a Saturday, and so that they're not interrupting their classroom time. I mean, if they need to, or over the summer or something, But
And we even talked about, with Dr. Aldrum, the in-school, like how many in-school shadowing, like you wanna be a teacher, okay, let's go shadow a teacher. Like, what kind of teacher do you wanna be? Do you wanna be a clerical assistant? Shadow some of our clerical staff. So we have talked about that. We're gonna work on moving in that direction.
But I would also like to see this in the school itself for kids. There's a class I know that Kevin took when he was a sophomore over.
Was it like
It was.
like
They were
career
supposed-
exploration?
Yes. And I think that would be a good place. You're so good. Thank you so much, Willie. But I think that would be another place that we could get kids to start looking at things and then going from there. So I would.
Do you have you wanna speak to that, or?
No, we actually have a new teacher that's going to be teaching that course up here at Almond, and she is actually already made several community connections and just offered her that.
Okay, great.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
No, go ahead.
We have a question. Next on the agenda is Zacharias Center. We just want to have a little bit of a discussion about the activities that we've had with the Zacharias Center.
Yes.
And also.
Did you want testing, was testing on that?
State test.
Next, we'll get to that. I'm just so excited, I want to share that.
Oh, I don't blame you. I am too.
Well, just briefly, John, you had mentioned something about the Zacharias Center, so I was familiar with it, obviously being in town, and I was also familiar that I knew the agency things that I wanted to double check with our social workers. As soon as I reached out to the social workers, they immediately responded. On one of the institute days, the previous year, they all went both sides of town, and their psychologists went on a site visit to make sure they were aware of all the different programs and personnel and make more connections than they already had. In addition, we have sent several students there for different reasons. They've been an excellent resource for our social workers most of the time. Sometimes they're psychologists, but most often it's a social worker. They have been steadfast at our wellness fair. They have a booth so they can present to students as they come by, so students see the services they offer, in addition to our social workers, obviously, promoting. Information has been shared with our health teachers. That's something we can strengthen more, not only at Home Plain, but also at Alton, because we offer health class here, particularly for the older kids who want to start targeting that information for. Moving forward too, one of the social workers wants to invite them in for lunch and learns so that our staff could become more aware, not just the social workers. Quite often our kids, the way our teachers are, we have excellent teachers, our kids develop very strong relationships with their teachers. Sometimes they're not comfortable with a social worker, they're comfortable with their math teacher, or their English teacher, or their PE teacher. So that's another area we want to grow with the connection with. We have a lot of great resources.
Sounds good. Thank you. I like it.
All right,
Now,
you
can I
want
tell
to
you
cheer?
this?
Yeah, well, you
As
can sing a song.
I'm cheering. Last week, we got the news that part testing will no longer be available for the high school students. Yay! I think, not that it was probably a bad test, but it's just so, the time it took just to organize it was unbelievable. So now, between Chris and Michelle and I, we're kind of like, oh wow, we have a very easy spring next year, but time will fill it out, I'm sure. But just so you are aware, October 19th is going to start our first testing debut, I guess. We're going to work with our freshman students, and we're going to start moving over to the suite of assessments for the SAT. So our freshmen will take what's called the PSAT 9. Our sophomores will take the PSAT/NMSQT, okay, and that'll all be on October 19th. So the freshman and sophomore building will be testing. And then the juniors will take that same PSAT/NMSQT, because that's the qualifying exam for the National Merit Scholarship Program. So it will only be a select group of juniors, and they will have to pay for that exam, but the freshmen and the sophomores, we will pay for those exams. And we had planned that to be in the budget. Then we get a little bit of break until March 1st, and it's March 1st to April 28th. That will be the Illinois Science Assessment, and those are for the students in Biology 1 or their first year of biology. Usually what happens is we tested a handful of students at Almond, just because they were transfer students, and their first science course might have been a physics class. So then they haven't had biology. So the Biology 2 class is their first biology class. So we'll work sometime with the science teachers. That one is a very simple test to administer. It takes one period, and the science teachers, figured out how to do that. So we're all good with that. April 5th, then will be the SAT test plus writing for our juniors. That will be the state requirement. So all juniors will have to take that test. That'll be right when we come back from spring break. I think it's a Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember which day. And then we're going to turn around like a couple weeks later and take the ACT plus writing, so that'll be April 19th. And the reason we're still doing the ACT plus writing test is because these juniors had the plan, or the Explore, and then the plan, so we wanted to continue them on that path so that we would also get our growth data. And then after this year of juniors taking the ACT, we'll just stick with all SAT assessments. And then we'll have AP testing March 1st, or May 1st through May 12th. So that's our testing. We're excited.
Thanks, Will.
Oh, I have a question. I think I'm sorry, Willie, but I think I read that the state is going to pay for ACT testing. Is that for the SAT? I'm sorry, I meant SAT, thank you. For juniors,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes, the state's going to pay for the
Just like-
SAT.
But we have
It's
paid
like
for it
a
in the
phrase.
past, so that'll save us? No, we are.
We haven't taken the SAT as
Oh.
juniors. Like, they took it on a Saturday or something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But this is the first year that the state is offering it for our juniors,
Okay.
okay? And then we, the district,
this
is paying for the ACT plus writing
Okay,
for the juniors.
okay.
And we did that last year.
One
Right.
Yes.
For 1 year, and then,
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Willie. A couple other just odds and ends things that I remember. August 31st, by the way, because we'll touch the calendars in a second. But August 31st is the tentative date of the intergovernmental picnic. We're hosting it. We'll be hosting it at Old Plain. We're excited about that because it'll be one of our setups for our traveling museum, so we're excited about showing off just some of our centennial stuff. So for those that can make it, the date will be August 31st. We're hosting it, and we'll do it at Oak Plain. Also, the transition center was mentioned, and forgot to mention that after our last board meeting, and we discussed it at our last board meeting, that right afterwards, Carol and I went over and met with management over there, and we're still waiting for their costs back on a long-term lease. That's what they said we are probably going to need to do, at least that's what they told us in the first blush. We're not sure what those costs are going to be. They know that we're excited to get those numbers early so that it can help us with our overarching kind of review of the transition center, but I did want to touch base with you on that. And also, one thing that came up that I didn't want to forget about is next month, you'll probably see an additional change to the staffing plan itself too, because we did have a student going to Claremont, but on the transportation piece of it, we found out we have to provide a bus aid for that, a one-on-one bus aid for that student. So we want you to forget about that. I saw Karen and reminded me that I wanted to tell you guys about that. The next piece of it.
At least you remember.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Karen.
I just want to spend a few minutes because when I first joined the district, I realized how quickly what a wonderful management team that we've had, and obviously working with the board has been great. And yet, after they told me about all these wonderful people, they said, you know what? And in a few years, a bunch of them that are leaving. And so, meaning that there's people that,
What?
from the early on, they started telling us about transitions of our administrative team, and those are all natural parts of what we do. And on my end, it's a very important part of what I do for the board, is try to work with our management team and have transitions happen and process things. So the reason I wanted to tell you now is you have to think early and plan early and work really to have things turn out in a reasonable fashion. So what I wanted to start with was, I can't see it on the screen, but Jean was nice enough to make copies. What I've given you is our current, on one side of that page is our current administrative chart that we've been operating with for the last 2 years, if you will, meaning this year coming up and last year. And we basically, the principals have done a great job in terms of holding their building administrative teams responsible for the great majority of things that happen at the building level. And that was just change for us in terms of special ed services and change of our interaction with our regular programs and how we function. The good thing about that is that it's, for us, having been through last year and now this upcoming year, thanks to the principals and Kara and Corey, we've kind of solidified and stabilized special ed quite a bit, but we've done without a position that we used to have administratively, which was a director of special ed position. That being said, we've also realized there's a lot of other needs besides special ed. And so moving forward, what I want to talk to the board about is in FY18, so not for the upcoming year, but for the year after this year, we'd like to have that administrative position next, because from a sustainability perspective, we think it's probably pretty important. And we've got transitions happening that we'll want to make sure that we have some continuity in the district leadership and sustainability. And so there's always things on my mind about where we need to be a few years from now, not just for the upcoming year. So on one side, I've given you this current organizational chart, if you will. And on the flip side, I've given you kind of a draft of what we could look like going forward. And for those of you who've been on the board for a while, at some point in time, we had an assistant superintendent or an associate superintendent for student services, which was much more overarching than just special ed, if you will. We may have had a director of special ed at the same time, in some years, other years not. The good thing about it is, from an organizational perspective, we have leadership from a district level. We have leadership that's provided for all of our teaching and learning, if you will, through Willie's leadership. And there's district things that we don't worry about because Willie's always got an eye on it for the short-term and long-term. From a resource perspective, you guys know that Carol's always got an eye on it.